Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Folks, today's Monday, January 26, 2026. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Another tragic murder in Minneapolis. An ICE officer in Border Patrol, they shoot and kill a man while he was protecting a woman being harassed by ICE. He was simply filming the entire scenario. He also was carrying a gun, but he had a permit. All of a sudden, guess what? Fox News, Second Amendment folks are now demanding changes to ICE. I talked with Minneapolis City Councilwoman about the city's plan to protect the citizens. Also, guess what? The head of the Border Patrol there, Donald Trump, is recalling him. It looks like changes are being made. Protest is being effective. Also, the Republican candidate for governor, first of all, has dropped out, saying he cannot stand with him. Also, the Minnesota attorney representing the ICE agent who killed Renee Good is dropping. First of all, he's dropping out of the gubernatorial race, saying he no longer aligns with his party after Saturday's shooting. So there's a lot going on here, folks. House Republicans are pushing a new bill they say will stop insider trading. The critics argue it won't. Well, a member of Congress will join me later to discuss his plan to help ban stock trading in the federal government. Democrats are drawing a hard line when it comes to the Department of Homeland Security budget. We'll tell you all about that as well. Plus, Florida Congressman Maxwell Frost says he was the victim of a racist attack. For a year, mobile gas turbines at Elon Musk's XAI facility in Memphis have operated without a permit, despite an EPA ruling requiring one. State Representative Justin Pearson will explain what that means. Lots to break down. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin.
The tragic shooting over the weekend has led to changes, massive protests as well, all across the country. People are demanding changes after a Veteran Affairs nurse, Alex Preddy, was shot and killed while he was recording ICE agents in Minneapolis. This took place on Saturday. 37-year-old Alex Jeffrey Preddy, again, an intensive care unit nurse with no criminal record, was shot and killed by federal immigration agents during an enforcement operation. The Trump administration quickly claimed that Preddy, a licensed gun owner, approached the agents with his weapon drawn. That is a lie. Video footage from several angles disproves that assertion. Amazing what's all was going on. Let's show the video. Let's roll the video.
What the fuck is wrong with you? The fuck, people? The fuck is wrong with you? Honestly. my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! The fuck did you just do? The fuck did you just do? Yes! Liz, somebody call the ambulance! Somebody call the ambulance! Somebody needs to call the ambulance! Somebody call 911! I can't believe they just did that! Holy shit! Holy shit! Just get, come on! Come on! Oh my God, you fucking people, man! You're fucking killing us! Why would you do that? Oh my God! Oh my God! I can't believe I'm seeing this. I can't believe I'm seeing this. Come on, come on, come on, come here, come on. Come here. It is.
Now, folks, again, that's video of the shooting. It has been a really intense 48 hours. You've had the Department of Homeland Security, ICE Barbie Christy Nome, coming out saying that, oh, this guy was a domestic terrorist. And all of a sudden, reporters were demanding of Trump's chief liar, Carolyn Levitt, how do you arrive at that domestic terrorism? And she says, well, Trump doesn't see it that way. And it's been so much back and forth. Now you got folks over at Fox News because now this guy was actually allowed to carry a weapon, now weighing in as well. Here is Trey Gowdy, former South Carolina congressman, who is now on Fox News, basically saying ICE was in the wrong for the shooting. Do we have that video? If we don't have the video, let me know. I'll pull it up myself. And so it goes to show you how intense this thing is shifted. You now have Republicans in Congress, also other parts of the country, who are demanding changes. We also are seeing law enforcement who's also demanding changes as well. And so saying that ICE has gone too far. And so what you see is a tide shifting against Donald Trump, shifting against all of these folks and their actions. And so that is critically important. And what that tells us is that the protests are indeed having a strong impact. It is causing people to demand changes to be made. Let me play for you what Gowdy had to say.
And I think what frustrates people, you remember Kyle Rittenhouse and how he was made a hero on the right. I am sure there are people on the conservative side who are saying, wait a minute, you mean you can't take a firearm to a protest? Because you were just celebrating the guy for doing it a couple of years ago. Alex Preddy's firearm was lawfully being carried. It's lawful to carry a gun in Minnesota. He never brandished it. He didn't point it at the cops. And we certainly should not be labeling him as being a domestic terrorist who is going to execute cops. There's no evidence.
These takes are really important because, again, Fox News was defending ICE, defending border security over and over and over again. Now, all of a sudden, they recognize that this is a problem. And you know, I kept saying to folks, and they thought I was crazy saying this, and I say it for the last year, it is going to have to take white folks in this country to be greatly impacted by what's going on. It's going to take them to now get get in this game. You now have Republicans. Look at this here in Texas, Senator Ted Cruz. You have Congressman McCall. They all of a sudden, Michael McCall. You see the headline, GOP Senator Cruz, Representative McCall, call for investigation after federal agents fatally shoot man in Minneapolis. You have Texas Governor Greg Abbott saying you're going to have to see some changes as well. You are seeing a break in the dam. The folks who have been protesting, they, again, have been pressuring. Minneapolis has been ground zero for all of this pressure. You've seen the National Basketball Players Association taking their stance. The NBA delayed the game over the weekend. You're seeing numerous groups, again, step up and speak out against these actions. Earlier today, I spoke with Robin Wansley. She's the minority leader of the Minneapolis City Council about the protests and the impact they are having in Minneapolis and on the nation. Councilwoman Wansley, what is interesting about this latest shooting, this murder of Nurse Alex Preddy, is that frankly what it has done, it has awakened white folks around this country. For the last year, several friends of mine have said, what is it going to take for America to wake up and see what's happening with Donald Trump and MAGA? And I said, it won't be the attack on black people. It won't be the attack on Latinos. It's going to be the attack on white folks. And the shooting death of Robin Good, now Alex Preddy, all of a sudden you got conservatives saying ICE needs to change their tactics. Texas Governor Greg Abbott. You got Fox News, Kurt Gowdy, former congressman, saying, wait a minute, this guy wasn't a threat. What do you mean you can't have a concealed weapon and a permit to carry going to a protest? So it's interesting how the tone is now shifting as a result of what took place.
Yeah, and I would say actually it's the overall resistance movement that we're seeing play out in Minnesota, where there's a huge multiracial component of it, but it's also no, lie. Minnesota is a predominantly white state. Minneapolis is predominantly white. And what we saw on Friday were over 50,000 residents here across the Twin Cities, across the state. Also, we had tons of people come into our state for solidarity actions. And we're talking about ordinary people, union members, educators, nurses, which is what Alex Preddy was, all come in and say, Trump, you do not get to have the final say on justice, on liberation. And we do not agree nor accept your campaign of cruelty that is being waged by these domestic terrorists that are ICE agents. And I think that actually was the signaling thereof, like, wait, we have not seen something of this magnitude towards the Trump administration since the start of his term. And to see that it's also being joined by the likes of folks like Alex Preddy, it's like you name, it's working class white folks and also former veterans. He was a veteran and also a VA nurse, and who spent his time also serving his country and being killed by another federal agent.
All right, folks, look, I have the issue with that interview. So let me know when that interview has been reset so we can hear from the councilwoman. So let me know when that has been fixed. Again, folks, lots of moving parts here. I have been looking at a variety of stories talking about how the White House recognizes that they have a significant problem. You've got the Border Patrol leader who has been there in Minneapolis, walking around in his long coat, looking like the Gestapo. This here is a headline from Associated Press. Trump softens tone on Minnesota immigration crackdown as some federal agents prepare to leave. And so you see this story right here by what's going on. And he's pulling some of these agents, this Operation Metro Surge. So you take Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino, who has been a polarizing force there in not only in Minneapolis, but in Chicago and other places as well. Well, he is being pulled out as well. So it is a lot. It is a lot that is going on there. And so we want to, break all of this down. We got our panel on standby. Folks, also, we have Representative Joe Morelli from New York talking about the stock ban trading. If he is with us, go ahead and pull him up. I would love to get his thoughts on this particular issue first. So let me know when the congressman is there. But again, folks, the tide is shifting. You're seeing what happens when people take to the streets. And this now is an increasing problem for Donald Trump. He, of course, is backing off a lot of the rhetoric where he's been attacking the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, attacking the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. And so all of that has been going on as we see what is happening here. And so the protests are continue. And what did I say last year? And I was very clear, and there's no doubt in my mind. I don't care what anybody says. Renee Good, being a white woman shot and killed. Alex Pretty, being a white man shot and killed. This was going to cause a shift. Now, folks can disagree with me all they want to, but a lot of these people had no problem with the attacks on African Americans and Latinos. Now, all of a sudden, they are seeing the result of these actions. You're seeing what happens when ICE is allowed to do whatever they want to, how they treat people, how they're pepper spraying journalists, how they are threatening to put people on terrorist lists. They have been operating with impunity. But see, when you have folks like Stephen Miller and his wife, Katie Miller, and J.D. Vance and others, and even Donald Trump out there saying that they can do whatever they want, when they want, well, this is what you actually get. And so we have to understand what's happening here. Folks, do we have the congressman? If so, pull them up, please. If you don't, just talk to me and let me know so I can know what's happening. Let me do this here. There we go. Congressman, how you doing?
I'm a little heartbroken, but personally doing fine. How about you?
Doing great. So before we talk about the banning of stocks, that's what we're going to talk to you about. I got to get your take on what's happening. It is abundantly clear that Donald Trump and his MAGA administration, they realize they have screwed up. They have pissed off the American people. They have angered folks. And it's not just the protests in Minneapolis, it's protests all across the country. And when you see his own party now demanding changes, they realize this is going to negatively impact them come November and the midterm elections.
Yeah, you know what? So as I said, I'm heartbroken because what's happened this weekend and what's happened over the last several weeks in a number of cities, but particularly in Minneapolis, is so contrary to everything I think most Americans believe in. And to watch this unfold, and I appreciate your comments that the president today is trying to back off a little bit. But you know what's really so disturbing about this is I feel like that's in response to the political backlash, but this is a moral question. This is about what we value as human beings, and that's not enough to get you to recognize the cruelty and the brutality of what you're doing. It takes a political backlash. I mean, boy, I don't think that says very much for the values in the White House right now. I'm pleased that it's happening, I guess. We'll see what it actually translates into. But I just think it says volumes about where we are, that it requires a political backlash instead of a commitment to morality and what's right and what's decent and what's honorable and what we believe in as Americans.
But Congress, here's the deal. The Republicans have been afraid to say something, to challenge this man. In fact, look, this is a political headline right here. It says, ICE shootings are freaking out the GOP. They're afraid to tell Trump. Some lawmakers see the administration squandering their strongest issues. And that's what you got going on here. They've been unwilling to tame this nonsense. They've allowed this thing. And I kept telling people on my show, they are going to cross a line. They're going to go too far. And when you kept seeing them, again, getting in folks' faces, when you have Bovino coming out saying, oh, there'll be consequences when it comes to the speech that you use. Wait a minute. Okay, if people are cursing at an ICE agent or Border Patrol agent and calling them Gestapo and Nazis, your job is not to beat somebody in the face, drag them by the hair, throw them, handcuff them, or pepper spray them. You suck it up and you take it. But when you had the president, when you had Donald Trump, when you had all these other people saying you have 100% immunity, these people said we can do whatever we want because they've got our back.
Yeah, and look, if there's that old saying about what you do in moments when people aren't looking at you, do the right thing. Where is it fundamentally? What do you believe? And now, like I'm happy that some Republicans are finally speaking out. But again, I feel like they're doing it because the politics of the moment, their fear of getting reelected has gotten to a certain point, but not because they actually looked at it and thought, right, what's happening in America? Like, I think about this. You said something really interesting before I came on, but I was listening about this needed to happen to white people before anyone would pay attention in America. And I was saying the other day to a colleague when we were on the House floor, this reminded me a little bit of the moments in the 1960s when you saw on television, on the news at night, Black folks getting hit with water cannons and having German shepherds sent loose on them, that people like recoiled from it. And I think that's happening as well. But to your point, it only happens if you watch it and you're repelled and you think, what? This is America? We're the good guys. Are we supposed to be the good guys? What happened to all of that? What happened about a more perfect union? What happened to 250 years of starting in some pretty dark places, but always trying to move in the right direction to try to follow the North Star? And then you look at this and you think, this is America? What's happened to us? So I think you're right. And I think people seeing it and recognizing, or a 5-year-old boy taken 1,000, 2,000 miles away from home. I have 5-year-old grandchildren. I don't want to say the rage that I would feel. So people maybe are starting to recognize this isn't the America that we signed up for. This isn't what we want. This isn't what we believe in.
Well, again, and you're right. So what happened here is the people that voted for him had to now confront, this is what you voted for? Is this what you wanted? You got a lot of Latino voters who all of a sudden, this is not what we voted for. And again, they lied to people, Congressman, and we knew they were lying. I mean, we kept calling them out. When they kept, oh no, we're only going to deport the hardcore criminals. We can all look at the numbers. Obama, significant deportations. Biden, significant deportations. But they weren't trying to turn it into the TV show 48 Hours. And that's what you have here. You got Bovino walking around in his long coat with 20 agents around him. I'm the big bad wolf going around. And you had all of that sort of stuff. When you have Tom Homan, who all of a sudden is the voice of reason, you know you got a problem.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Tom Homan's from New York. He spent some time here. So I agree with you. And even when you look at the video, and I know people are looking frame by frame on what exactly happened, but just, you don't even need to. You see it in real time. A woman gets shoved to the ground by federal agents. And this gentleman goes to try to assist in some way. And seconds later, he's shot to death. I mean, and the shots, there must have been, I thought it was 8 or 9 shots. It was
10 shots.
10 shots. I mean,
and then they lied to us. They lied. Oh, he pulled out a gun and he brandished it at the agents. I'm sorry. Yeah. We can now see. So Kristi Noem lying, Bovino lying. They all kept lying. They lied about Renee Good, and they really lied about this guy. And we saw the video where they took his gun away, and after they took his gun away, when he was allowed to carry, had a permit, then he was shot and killed. And they lied to say, oh, he was a domestic terrorist trying to attack federal agents. They lied. They just lied.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. When I was a kid, in the middle of the Cold War, every time the Soviet Union ever spoke as a government, it seemed like it was lie after lie after lie. And I was thinking about it the other day. The United States government is now putting out absolute lies. I mean, things that they know not to be true, as though it is.
They've been lying to federal judges.
Well, clearly. And, the federal judiciary, and this isn't just Obama and Biden appointees, Reagan, Bush, and Trump appointees are starting to push back and say that's not true. I mean, what's happened to us? I mean, how do we look in the mirror? How do we, again, we are imperfect. I know the president doesn't want to talk about our imperfect history, but it is our history. And we can only learn from it if we remember it, right? If you forget the things you've done in the past or present and you whitewash it, you can't learn from those lessons. And it's so, I will say, in this job, like yours, you live with this 24 hours a day. I mean, you literally, I guess we sleep. So the waking hours, that's all you do. You're reading headlines, you're getting news, you're talking, you're trying to figure out. But the last 72 hours, but even the last 2 weeks is really a lot to process. I think it's weighing down on Americans. And by the way, Donald Trump talked about, reducing the cost of goods. Well, that hasn't happened. And in the last several months, all he's talked about is the Nobel Peace Prize, his ballroom. He talks about Venezuela. Then it was Greenland. And all the time going into a place in Minnesota about as far from the southern border as you can get and still be in the United States and have an army of occupation there. It's just so. But look, and the one thing that I do want to, because I thank you for having me, and I know this is the moment, this is the conversation of the day. The one thing that happened the other day, which has largely gone unnoticed, but my friend Benny Thompson in Mississippi and I sent a letter today to the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee and the House Administration, which has responsibility for federal voting rights. The Attorney General the other day sent a letter to Governor Walz asking for the voter file of the state of Minnesota. I mean, this is actually, if you're really, really cynical, or if you're really suspicious, or if you've become now just the average American who knows you're being lied to by your government, the fact that they want voter files and voter records. So this is, in my mind, my spidey sense goes up. This has nothing to do with fraud. This has to do with intimidating election officials, intimidating voters, getting access, and trying to overturn elections in the past, and trying to intimidate people so that they don't vote in the midterm elections. People really need, sadly, there's so much to pay attention to, but really understand what's going on. They're trying to disrupt the midterm elections so that Trump and his policies don't have to have accountability.
And what they're doing is they're suing states that won't give it up. I'm going to come back to Minnesota. First of all, on voting rights, we cover that all the time. But we initially booked you talk about the stock trading. I got to say, it has been shameful to me, the lack of courage from members of Congress, where we know it is without a doubt individuals who serve on committees who all of a sudden buy stocks or sell stocks that days before or hours before, and they have information based upon their access to that data that other people don't have. And you've had members of Congress go there and earn millions and millions of dollars through these stock trades. And you can't tell me there's somebody who ain't never traded stocks who all of a sudden is an expert picker at stocks.
Look, I when I first came to Congress, I don't have a lot, but I said I don't want to have any individual stock, because I don't want, if I'm taking votes on sensitive subjects, whether it's artificial intelligence or it's military defense contracts, etc., you don't want people thinking to themselves, is he doing that because of the national interest, or is he doing it for his self-interest? So I think there should be no one in Congress. I don't think the president or the vice president, I don't think members of the Supreme Court ought to be able to allow to hold and trade individual shares of stock. You can buy mutual funds, you can buy broad baskets to protect your family, but trading individual stocks, there's too much of a conflict inherent in it, and it causes you to lose the faith and the confidence of the American people, which frankly is already at an all-time low. Here's one I think has been reported. I'm sure you know it, but the president back in September, while he was president, not years ago, but since he's been president, bought somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million worth of Warner Brothers corporate bonds. Now, you and I know Warner Brothers is in the middle of merger talks with Netflix. And at one point, the president's son-in-law was trying to get private equity to push up the bid by Paramount to raise the price. I mean, this is crazy. The president owns corporate bonds of companies that are in the middle of merger talks and ultimately have to go in front of the FCC, Brendan Carr, his friend, and the guy he appointed, to make the determination on whether that deal goes through. Now, should I be wondering whether or not the FCC and the president are doing everything they can in the public interest, or are they doing it in the interest of the president's bottom line in his personal checkbook? And when that starts to happen, you lose faith. And in a democracy, when you lose the faith of the governed, the people who are in charge, what else is there? I mean, that's the most fundamental thing in a democracy.
Congressman, there's no doubt in my mind that these people are corrupt, that they're doing all they can to rape and pillage America, to make as much money. They don't give a damn about the emoluments clause. Whether it's the Qatar jet, buying bonds, they don't care. And listen, they have a party that will not hold them accountable. Democrats are in the minority in the House, in the Senate. So their whole deal is, hey, we got to make a run of this as long as we can. And that's one of the reasons why I think they want to cheat with the voting rolls, because they don't want Democrats controlling the House and or the Senate, because then there will be investigations, there'll be hearings, and they don't want that. And so that's the case. But certainly, I do believe when it comes to the issue of stock trading, there's no doubt in my mind. I don't understand why members of Congress are so resistant to it. Well, I do, because frankly, it's an easy way to fatten up your piggy bank, and that's what you got going on. And then, of course, you can also be like Kristen Sinema, go to the Senate, raise a whole bunch of money, spend it on lavish trips, and then pocket that money, and then, of course, get a lobbying job, and then you can live like a fat rat.
Yeah, look, even the people who are maybe doing it innocently without any additional information, but it just doesn't look good. And again, you have to be, as they used to say, above reproach. You know, they used to say about Caesar's wife, you have to be better than everyone else. You have to think about these things if you're going to have the confidence of the public. And when you can trade individual stock, let's say you're on an appropriations committee, as I am. If you're in the defense space and you know that the United States Navy is going to start ordering ships and it hasn't been made public, it's not inside information in the way that you think of it under the current law, but it's definitely information that you could utilize to benefit yourself. And so when people think that that's happening, whether it's members of Congress or the president, Supreme Court, for who these people often appear in front of, we just have to say no. And that's why we've got a bill that would ban all of this. Republicans are resistant, but we're going to continue to push on it. There's so much I want to do in this space. If I'm fortunate enough to be in the majority next year and chairman of this committee that has jurisdiction, we're going to make massive changes. And my friend and partner and the leader, Hakeem Jeffries, has instructed me to work on anti-corruption legislation to really create the greatest reforms in our government since Watergate. So and the stock trading ban is certainly going to be among it, as are many of the things you mentioned that would tighten the emoluments clause of the U.S. Constitution. No more jets from Qatar, no more making billions in the crypto space and using your office to do it. All of these things really cause people, understandably, to question where their government is and who it's working for.
Congress, I just have one request, and this is the position I've always taken, and it's the problem that I have with too many Democrats, is that when they get power, they don't use it. And to me, this is where if Democrats regain control of the House or they gain and or the Senate, then they need to use that power. Listen, for whether we despise a lot of their actions, what Donald Trump and MAGA and these Republicans did when they got the power, they used it. And too often Democrats are like, well, we got this, we got that. No, people want to see action and results. And they don't want to sit there and watch people say, oh, it's going to take some time. They want to see it now. And that's what I hope, if y'all gain control, that y'all wield that power the way it's supposed to be wielded.
Yeah, I think the important thing is use, don't abuse, but definitely use. And we're going to do it. Frankly, I'll tell you, when it comes to, because this is all going to be part of it, Voting Rights Act and whatever the Supreme Court does, we're going to have to get in there and we're going to have to make some changes to safeguard people's right to vote and stop the reemergence of Jim Crow laws across this country. And that's, I think, part of the aim here. We're going to do this and we're going to do it quickly. I think January, February of next year, you're going to see massive changes. And we're going to put these bills up on the House floor and we're going to start to reform the government of the United States in the way it deserves to be, so that people start to have confidence once again that we're working on their behalf.
Absolutely. Congressman Joe Morelli, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Nice to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to bring my panel, Dr. Ome Congo Dibinga, Senior Professor of Lecture, School of International Service, American University, author of Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racism, out of D.C. Joy Cheney, founder of Joy Strategies, out of D.C. A. Scott Bolden, attorney, as well, out of D.C. Glad to have all three of you here. Scott, I want to start with you. And that is these two murders, Renee Good, Alex Preddy. I mean, these shootings, and it is galvanizing, it is crystallizing the issue, and clearly Trump and the Republicans are scared of what they are seeing, because they now are seeing the level of pushback and the resistance is having a dramatic impact into that. I think is going to force them to change directions. Thoughts?
You know, all of our grandmothers used to say, "You gonna believe me or your lying eyes?" Well, I'm gonna believe me and my lying eyes, because that video and those videos are truthful. There's no question about it. You and I have spent 7 years breaking down these illegal shootings by the police, and these are no different. The video of Petty, the gentleman who was protesting a couple days ago, the nurse, is as powerful, in my opinion, or almost as powerful as the George Floyd killing that was played out on camera. The nurse was peacefully protesting. He was helping an individual, a woman who the ICE had pushed down. And if you look at that video, that both of them are on the ground, and then on their way down, the ICE agent starts spraying pepper spray. He doesn't hit them. He hits another ICE agent or Border Patrol agent. And then you have 7 of them wrestling with 2 of them and then just 1. What's the real? What did they do so wrong? And they are struggling to handcuff him. What were they going to arrest him for? It makes absolutely no sense. Then they take his gun. They've got him under control. He's not being aggressive, yet they still escalate. It's right there. And then they shoot him. And by the way, those 7 officers, it was all very close. Some of them could have gotten shot. That's how irresponsible it is. And if you look at that video, if you compare with DHS regs in regard to lethal force, it just violates all of that. Whether it's the woman driving or now the nurse on the ground, it violates all of their regs vis-a-vis the use of deadly force. And it's downright dangerous. I raised that, Roland, because that just shows how untrained, ill-equipped, or just how stupid these agents are, these border agents. They're not trained in urban policing, community policing. And so I think you're right. And what gets me, what's even more dangerous, see, white folks can't really appreciate this when we say this. They're killing white folks. Now, when they get to killing white folks, let me tell you something. It gets really, really bad. And I got to tell you, they're moving people out of Minnesota, but Bovino and all of them, let me tell you something. They created this. The White House created this. Stephen Miller created this. I wish you could pull up the video. You remember 2 or 3 months ago when they were about to deploy in New Orleans or Chicago, and they were in this big hangar, and Noam was there, and Stephen Miller was there, and they were giving them a pep talk, right? And the media ran it, and they were saying the gloves are off. This is Miller. The gloves are off. Go get them. Go do whatever you want to do. And
yeah, that was Stephen Miller. He was that was Stephen Miller in Memphis.
Remember that? Remember it?
Yeah.
And when I watched it, I said, my goodness gracious, these goons are just going to go off because they got no legal restraint now. And sure enough, they killing people. The only thing that surprised me was they started killing white folks on camera. They just didn't care because they were going to back them. And Noam needs to be impeached. You know, Miller needs to go. Bovino needs to go. And then they're going to send Holman like he's some independent arbiter, and he's the most corrupt out of them all. You ain't heard from him in 3 or 4 or 5 months, have you? Because since he took that $50,000 deal and nobody knows where the money is, what happened to the 50 grand? He was never prosecuted, and they don't know where the money is. You haven't heard from Holman. They kept him low key. He's no independent arbiter. He believes what they believe, that if you are here waiting on an asylum and you have a path to citizenship, you came here illegally, they interpret the regs to mean you are a criminal. That's why they live with the whole BS or bullshit about these are all criminals. When Bovino puts up the 4 or 5 criminals that they've arrested or they're looking for in Minnesota, look at those charges. Every one of them is a misdemeanor. You hear me? I don't care if it's an assault or domestic violence. These are all misdemeanors. These aren't killers or rapists or felons that are invaded America. It's all bullshit, right? And they want us to buy it, not because it's a lie, but so they want us to envelop it so we start to rethink or gaslight ourselves as to maybe this is it. The worst statistic, and I'll finish on this note, the worst statistic is 80% of the Republicans still support the Trump administration, notwithstanding all of this. 80%. That's the biggest problem in America and how it views humanity or the lack of humanity.
The thing here, Joy, is that the reason it happened is because the administration said, do what you want. And so
do what you want.
They just kept getting more aggressive and more aggressive and defending. And so if you're one of these folks, you like, shit, man, it don't matter what we do. We good. They got our back. And so that's what happened here. And they kept saying, and I kept saying, they're going to cross a line. It's going to get worse. And it was like, well, the white woman, Renee Good, when she was driving the car trying to run him over, the problem here, dude was filming on his phone. He was filming on his phone, and they ran up. First of all, y'all pull the video up, get it ready. And not the angle we showed before. I want to see the other angle where they went up to him. He was on the side of the street recording. Exactly. They accosted him. Right. They initiated the action here, Joy.
Mm-hmm. They took his gun, and then I don't know if the stills.
No. Hold on. No. That's later.
Even before then,
he's standing there recording.
That's what I mean. But what I'm saying,
accost him, push the woman, and they grab his gun when he's on the ground. But he wasn't impeding. He wasn't grabbing them. This is what he was doing. He was standing right now. He was talking stuff, and so guess what? I can't wait. Unfortunately, he got killed. But I can't wait when his family gets his phone and they release that video.
Absolutely. The other thing is, I don't know, there have been a lot of stills that have been put out that have captured different moments in the entire exchange, which I think is something that, I have not seen the detail of each of these stills in the way. That's because there's so much footage out there. And I think you really see how it unfolded, and you see that there was the ICE agent who was to blame here. But to your earlier point about the climate that they are in, the instructions that they were given, the encouragement that they were given has created the moment that we are in. It is squarely on the shoulders of Donald Trump, the way he has been speaking and the way he's been speaking for a long time. The people that he put in these roles is pretty clear. Law enforcement officials have been saying it all over. They're saying the people that you are putting in these roles are not people who would some of them wouldn't even be fit for regular law enforcement roles, right? These people are not folks who we would even, some of them are ex-military. I think we're going to learn a lot more. I think some of them are wearing masks, because if they were not wearing masks, we would know who they were. We'd be able to track that. Some of those people have histories, January 6th, Proud Boys, other things. These are folks who are already poised to fight. I was on a call with a client today who noted that there have been, that there was overhearing of ICE agents on the way to Minnesota who were saying their goal was to get in there, rip it, and then leave. Right? So they are coming with the mindset that they're going to cause disruption and destruction and then get out before anyone can hold them accountable. That is the plan. And so it's not just enough for us to not fund ICE. That's a start. We need to cease operations of ICE everywhere until we cool things down a bit, but also reestablish the rules of the road, because God is right. None of the rules, as we understand it, as federal and state and local officers understand it, for interacting with the public, for use of force, are being adhered to here. And it's those officers who ultimately are going to be held accountable. Donald Trump will not be in power forever. And there's limitations here.
Ome Congo, what we have to recognize, and guys, let me know if we have the interview with the councilwoman, if that's been if we're ready for that. And I'm gonna say it right now, Ome Congo, and I don't care. I know I'm right. This changed because 2 white people got killed. This changed because a white woman got shot and killed, and a white male nurse working for the VA got shot. And this is why the right is losing it, because he had a concealed permit. And it's like, oh, what's wrong with you? How dare you have a weapon at a protest? White folks did. Hey, talk about those white men who went into the Capitol in Michigan with their guns. Let's talk about, see, this is where you can see when they all get exposed, when every talking point they use, now somebody on the left. What do we always say? Let black folks start walking around with guns. They can be like, man, we got to get rid of these damn gun laws. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
This reaction is because the death of a white woman and a white man has pissed white people off, and they've galvanized them. And that's when they're like, oh shit, we ain't worried about Latinos and black people. We worried about the white folks voting against us.
Well, I agree like 99% of that. I feel like the killing of Renee Good, I don't feel like that was even a big enough trigger point for them because she was lesbian. And they have this mindset of, this real America. She didn't represent real America. And, that gave people fodder, people talking about the pronouns and stuff that she used. But with Alex Preddy.
Well, it was, here's the deal. I think hers, I get your point. Hers caused a bit crack.
Yes.
His murder just broke it open. So again, there were a lot of people. I get her being a lesbian, but a lot of people, when they saw it, they were like, hold up. The woman was driving. We saw this whole deal. So yeah, they tried it with some gray area and they lied about it. This one here, they were like, oh hell, we can't defend this. We can't defend this.
It's clear.
Absolutely, because Alex Preddy is the perfect victim. He's a white male that for them, obviously for us, we talk about everybody, citizen, non, black, white, Latino, whatever. But for them, white male, apparently no evidence of him being homosexual or trans, and of course the Second Amendment and all of that. That for them is what led to the Players Association, NBA, all of these Minnesota teams, the business community, for all of them, and the veteran connections. You see him reading The Last Rites, so you have the religious connection. So he was the perfect victim. We don't need perfect victims in our community. We speak up on all injustice, but that's what they needed for their breaking point. And this was all building up if they would just listen to us in the first place, as we know they never do. And so that's why I think you're seeing the Hollywood people also speak up. Tyrese Halliburton, first NBA player to say something, that he was murdered. And I will also say that we have to be mindful of the fact that when it comes to these killings every single day, people aren't paying attention to the fact that now with these two killings, white people who are being killed, kind of to Scott's point, they're actually being treated like Black Americans now. Because when white people get killed in some way, shape, or form in the media, they always say, out of respect to the family, we're not going to show the killings. But for Black folks, they got it all lined up. Tune in tonight at 6. We got the tape. Laquan McDonald, run down the list. Tamir Rice. Now they're doing this with white people as well, which shows the level of depravity that we've reached as a society. And that was the part I wasn't even expecting, Roland, but it's necessary to wake up more Americans to this tragedy so they can start hearing what we've been saying all along and start to do something about this crisis that's happening in America.
Again, I'm going to say it again. What did a lot of Black civil rights workers say? What was their fear of doing Freedom Summer? Their fear was, man, one of these white kids get killed, they're gonna come down all on us. The impact of Cheney, Schwerner, and Goodman being killed, 2 white boys and a Black guy. That was the issue. I'm telling you, I love how these people want to act like this. A white woman comes up missing. Oh my God, we are still they are still doing documentaries on Natalie Holloway. I'm talking, that's been like 10, 15 years. They are still, I'm just being straight up, and I'm not being callous, but a Black woman come up missing? Oh, hell, look, listen, you ain't getting that kind of coverage. That's what we have to realize. And guess what? White man with a concealed gun killed in the protests? Outrage. Philando Castile told the cop, I have a weapon on me. I have a concealed handgun permit. He was shot and killed, and you didn't see the NRA or any gun groups rising to his defense.
But they came out today. They came out today in example.
That's my point. That's my point. Again, we played the interview of the Minneapolis Congresswoman. We were talking to her about what took place there. Okay, so hopefully the video is straight. Let's roll that interview, please. Councilwoman Wansley, what is interesting about this latest shooting, this murder of Nurse Alex Preddy is that, frankly, what it has done, it has awakened white folks around this country. For the last year, several friends of mine have said, what is it going to take for America to wake up and see what's happening with Donald Trump and MAGA? And I said, it won't be the attack on black people. It won't be the attack on Latinos. It's going to be the attack on white folks. And the shooting death of Robin Good, now Alex Preddy, all of a sudden you got conservatives saying ICE needs to change their tactics. Texas Governor Greg Abbott. You got Fox News, Kurt Gowdy, former congressman, saying, wait a minute, this guy wasn't a threat. What do you mean you can't have a concealed weapon and a permit to carry it going to a protest? So it's interesting how the tone is now shifting as a result of what took place.
Yeah, and I would say actually it's the overall resistance movement that we're seeing play out in Minnesota, where there's a huge multiracial component of it, but it's also no, lie. Minnesota is a predominantly white state. Minneapolis is predominantly white. And what we saw on Friday were over 50,000 residents here across the Twin Cities, across the state. Also, we had tons of people come into our state for solidarity actions. And we're talking about ordinary people, union members, educators, nurses, which is what Alex Preddy was. All come in and say, Trump, you do not get to have the final say on justice, on liberation. And we do not agree nor accept your campaign of cruelty that is being waged by these domestic terrorists that are ICE agents. And I think that actually was the signaling there of like, wait, we have not seen something of this magnitude towards the Trump administration since the start of his term. And to see that it's also being joined by the likes of folks like Alex Preddy. It's like you name, it's working class white folks and also former veterans. He was a veteran and also a VA nurse, and who spent his time also serving his country and being killed by another federal agent while just simply observing and saying what you're doing is absolutely unacceptable in our streets, and doing that just with his camera. It says a lot. And I think the Trump administration is recognizing that they are not winning the public narrative on this. They're not winning public support. And this is not a good look to be out here just killing and shooting civilians at their discretion. And I think this is why we're seeing this opening with the Trump administration walking back some of the threats that they were very forceful of. But it's largely because working class people, ordinary people in the Twin Cities have been on the front lines of defense since Operation Metro Surge started several weeks ago, and made it very clear, you don't get to do this. You don't come into our communities and harm our people without consequence.
The reason I asked the question that way is because whether folks want to deal with it or not, America is still a majority white country. When you look at this election, and I've been laying this thing out when I laid out my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. I actually said in the book that, listen, black people, we knew who Donald Trump was back in 2011, long before that. We knew who he was in 2016. We ain't vote for him then. We ain't vote for him in 2020. Didn't vote for him in 2024. That's why we use the phrase, hashtag we tried to tell you. We got shirts on our site saying, don't blame me, I voted for the black woman. And this is a moment where and we just have to confront it, that when it all of a sudden impacts folk who don't look like you and I, the conversation changes. We talk about how America responded to crack cocaine compared to how they responded to the opioid campaign. And I have no problem with the fact that you are seeing white consciousness rise up. People have been complaining, look at these protests. Where are the black people? It's kind of like, why don't you focus on people who are actually showing up? And the tide has to shift. And people have to be shaken out of their doldrums and recognize. And Minneapolis, Minnesota is ground zero, but it is causing folk across the country to say, hey, I might need to reconsider my support of this because, frankly, this has gone too far. This is too much.
Absolutely. And that's why I believe Minneapolis plays a really special role in advancing what you mentioned, just consciousness, or revelations amongst the general population, or also agitating people and radicalizing them. Because as you highlighted, just we were in this position 6 years ago with the murder of George Floyd. And we saw the world turn to us in terms of how do we forge a pathway forward around policing and public safety, because cops stole another Black life in that moment. And for years, Black Lives Matter had been organizing protests and things of that nature here in Minnesota, all across the country, saying policing is racist and it's violence. Law enforcement in general, focus is oppressing Black, brown, poor people. It's not often meant to protect and serve as its quote unquote, its PR campaign says. And the shooting of killing of George Floyd would birth one of the largest civil rights or social uprising in U.S. history in terms of movement organizing. And we saw in that moment, again, Minneapolis be ground zero for showing whether it's issues related to white supremacy, policy, immigration. We're not the ones to be played with. Like, yes, we have our issues, but we show that, okay, there's a shared sense of commitment for advancing justice, for saying that we care about the collective well-being of one another. We care about the preservation of democracy in our society, in our country. And we recognize that if it's George Floyd to Renee Good to Alex Petrie, we know these institutions will use George Floyd, a Black person or a Somali person, to advance what is very much a corrupt agenda. And the Trump's agenda is really to make the rich richer. And they use these things. Black people, oh, those are the people you should be scared of. Somali people, no, they're doing fraud. Be afraid of them. Oh, these illegal immigrants. No, those are the problems. Those are the people who are taking your jobs and making it so that you don't have health care all of a sudden. It's to distract us from recognizing that it's the wealthiest of our society that should be the common enemy, and they have us looking at one another and trying to create confusion to make it seem like we're the problem. And Minneapolis, I think, under this test by the Trump administration, is actually pointing the mirror and saying, no, we know what you're doing, and we're not going to capitulate to this. We see the schemes that you're using around racism, around fascism. We are not going to stand for it. And we're going to set a new model, what it looks like to take on this administration. And to have white folks at the forefront of it, I think it's important. It's important to show that as white people, you have the responsibility to take up a bulk of this weight in this fight. And knowing that it's coming on the heels of other communities, Black folks, immigrants who've been on the front lines of taking on these very deadly and violent institutions by themselves for a long time. So it's great to see that it's being leveled up, and that hopefully it's a playbook for other cities where Trump looks to enter into and also take control and show that you have options to fight back.
And not only that, it is also showing hypocrisy, because it's quite interesting to watch, again, Trey Gowdy's of the world and Fox News talking about this was a rightful gun owner who had a permit. So did Philando Castile.
Yep.
And they were mighty quiet when he was shot and killed.
Yep. Yep. You're absolutely right. And these are the things that we're recognizing locally. In fact, I mean, just a couple of days ago, one of our local civil rights leader who was on the front lines of Philando Castile, of Jamar Clark, of all the many people we lost at the hands of law enforcement, our local militarized, enforcement agency, Nakima Levy Armstrong, she was prosecuted and arrested. Charges are still being pended because she has always called to question around how serious do we take the valuing of Black lives in our communities and in our cities, especially when it comes to policing. And that was the case with Philando Castile. We have video footage that blatantly showed this man was killed in his car. He was a rightful gun owner. He even disclosed that in the contact with the officer who pulled them over. And we saw that officer still shoot him multiple times, kill him in front of what at the time was his fiance and his daughter, and then get acquitted. So we're seeing a lot of parallels. And I think on the ground, what has been really inspiring to see is all the skill sets as someone who was a Black Lives or was on the ground as a Black Lives Matter organizer, like all the skills from observing, documenting, how to actually go about, building a movement to get a law enforcement agent held accountable. We didn't see that happen until Minneapolis in 2020 following George Floyd's murder. It took a national and international movement that was birthed here to get Derek Chauvin and the other officers locked up and prosecuted. So we're seeing a lot of parallels of the movement to demand a new model around immigration, to take on the Trump administration. It's absolutely taking from the struggles that we led on the ground in response to preserving Black lives here, and also calling for justice for the ones who were stolen at the hands of law enforcement.
Well, this is why I have consistently said since the inauguration, this is not a moment to be silent, not a moment to be quiet. We can't be afraid to take to the streets. We can't be afraid to raise our voices. We must stand in constant protest. I said on MLK Day, I don't want to hear that crap about day of service. No, if MLK was alive, he would be leading protests. He would be leading marches. He would be organizing and mobilizing. And what we also need, this is the final point for you that you can speak on, we also need folks to understand that marching and protesting against ICE in January is critical. We also got to march to the polls in November to oppose the people who want to fund them, who want to support them, who continue to make excuses and stand with Donald Trump and MAGA. They must be penalized at the ballot box.
Yes. I think, of course, we've heard electorally, we need to be looking at the midterms, elections as an opportunity to flip who represents us and who is whoever is out here supporting Trump's campaign of cruelty and racist violence that's impacting everyone. You should absolutely be motivated to get those people out. But I also would say it's important to hold elected officials, people who currently have positions of power and who may or may not be seeking re-election come the midterms. It's so important to hold them accountable in the current moment. Right now, we could eliminate funding for this agency that is the domestic terrorist agency of ICE. And here in Minnesota, we're calling on Senator Amy Klobuchar as well as Senator Tina Smith to do everything that they can, if it even includes filibustering, to make sure not one more dime goes to this agency that's already overfunded and is not helping our communities. It also looks like holding accountable our current governor. Governor Walz has the ability to declare a state of emergency and put an eviction moratorium in place, because there are thousands of people who are about to be at risk of getting evicted and put on the streets, and thus put more in contact with ICE agents to then either be abducted or shot or killed or worse. And we have the ability to protect those residents right now if Governor Walz exhibits the courage to do so and allow people to shelter in place. It looks like state officials holding the federal ICE agents responsible for shooting and killing Renee Good and Alex Preddy accountable. And that looks like arresting them, prosecuting them. I get ongoing investigations must happen, but there is a bulk of evidence right now that should be used as a baseline to at least detain these agents who robbed our communities of beloved community members who literally were helping care and protect one another.
Absolutely. Councilwoman Wansley, keep up the fight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Folks, also, it's amazing what happens when a shooting like this takes place, and then Democrats who, say, well, I'm going to vote this way. Now all of a sudden go, yeah, I kind of made a mistake. Check this out. Democrats who voted for DHS funding suggest he now regrets it. Tom Suozzi of New York, one of 7 Democrats who broke from their party last week to provide the votes to pass a bill to fund the Homeland Security Department, told his constituents on Monday that he had failed in doing so. He sent an email out saying, I failed to view the DHS funding vote as a referendum on the illegal and immoral conduct of ICE in Minneapolis. I hear the anger from many of my constituents, and I take responsibility for that. Bullshit. This is what the real deal here is on the Congo. You have folks like Tom Suozzi, who wants to play this, I am a, support law enforcement. We saw the actions of ICE in Minneapolis before the shooting on Saturday.
That's
so it's like, what the hell you think you're doing? Oh, now all of a sudden, no, because you're getting your ass kicked. by your constituents because you look like a fool voting for this. That's why you're upset. And all of a sudden, it now becomes a big deal. In fact, this right here, you've got a shutdown deadline coming. Now, all of a sudden, you got a Schumer saying this here. Democrats will speed up non-DHS funding bills ahead of deadline shutdown because they don't want to sit here and vote for it. You see right here, let's see, Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer announced Monday that Senate Democrats are prepared to speed up passage of 5 government funding bills, but not funding for the Department of Homeland Security to avoid a large swath of the government shutting down at the end of the week. Senate Democrats have made clear we are ready to quickly advance the filed appropriations bill separately from the DHS funding bill for the January 30th deadline. Yeah, I mean, that's what you should be saying, because you know what? It's causing people like Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman who've been kissing the ass of ICE, saying all sort of crazy ass things left and right. He now all of a sudden realizes, I got some issues. In fact, did y'all see? I'm gonna let you speak to that because I'm gonna ask Jordan's next question about Fetterman and his wife, how her coming out has got him going, yeah, I might need to readjust my position. But go right ahead, on the Congo.
Yeah, I was thinking about Fetterman and his with that. But I was Swazi. Look, the fact of the matter is, any Democrat at this stage that votes to support ICE or not, or to fund it or any way, shape, or form, they need to be primaried. Look, during 2024, the election and all of that, people can say that that was an extreme left position with Democrats or independents. Now, when you look at the polling, abolishing ICE is a moderate stance. It's a moderate stance among Democrats. It's like 40-something%. And that was before the Alex Preddy shooting. And so when people talk about, you're hearing people say Democrats who vote to support this, they have blood on their hands and all of that other type of stuff. This is one of the main issues with Democrats this year. And so Swazi and I think 3 other ones came out and said that they regretted or they condemned the killing or whatever. They need to be primaried. And we can't be afraid to primary these guys going into these midterm elections. The fact of the matter is that some of these Democrats are refusing to stand up and meet the moment. They're refusing to be the opposition party that we need. It's not an age thing, it's a comfort thing, and it's a donor thing. Some of these guys are just too corporate, and this is the time to stand up and speak up. And if not, you should be primary, period, bottom line. And Swazi should be one of them.
This is what I find to be very interesting here, Joy. Let me show you this here. This is a statement that the wife of John Fetterman put out. For more than a decade, I lived undocumented in the U.S. Every day carried the same uncertainty and fear lived in my body. A tight chest, shallow breaths, racing heart. What I thought was my private chronic dread has now become a shared national wound. This now daily violence is not law and order. It is terror inflicted on people who contribute, love, and build their lives here. It's devastatingly cruel and un-American. Now, John Fetterman has been a huge supporter of ICE. In fact, he had to. Her comments are made shortly after the shooting. Fetterman, of course, released his statement. This is what he said: Miss Good and Mr. Preddy should still be alive. My family grieves for theirs. The operation in Minneapolis should stand down and immediately end. It has become an ungovernable and dangerous urban theater for civilians and law enforcement that is incompatible with the American spirit. As a very pro-immigration Democrat and ranking member of the subcommittee on border management, I believe our nation deserves a secured border and that we should deport all criminal migrants. I also believe there needs to be a path to citizenship for those hardworking families who are here. I've also spent significant time hearing many different positions on the funding bills and maintain that I will never vote to shut our government down, especially our Defense Department. Additionally, a vote to shut our government down will not defund ICE. DHS has $178 billion in funding from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which I did not vote for. I reject the calls to defund or abolish ICE. I strongly disagree with many strategies and practices ICE deployed in Minneapolis and believe that must change. I want a conversation on the DHS appropriations bill and support stripping it from the minibus. It is unlikely that will happen and our country will suffer another shutdown. We must find a way forward, and I remain committed to being a voice of reason and common sense. Well, you might want to go listen to your wife, Joy, because that's what we're seeing right here. And to Ome Congo's point, if there's a moment, polling data backs up Democrats, is to find a spine and say enough is enough. And Joy, let me remind people, deportations took place under Obama. Deportations took place under Biden. The difference is it wasn't a TV show. They weren't out there filming. Remember, the cop who shot Renee Good was sitting here recording with one hand and sitting here and grabbed his gun in the other. What Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller and all these people and Ice Barbie Christy Nome, what they've done is they've turned this into a television show because they are appealing to these hardcore white MAGA voters and say, see, we are taking these people out. And they're actually deporting fewer people than Biden and Obama did.
All of this is correct. Well, first of all, I just have to say for all the women here, every married man should listen to his wife, whether you're in my home now or whether you are.
I mean, hold on, not on everything. Hold up, not on everything. I mean, let's calm down.
John Fetterman and all married men.
Hold up, not on every damn thing. Y'all act like y'all right on everything.
Well, Christy Nome's husband, if she has one.
Thank you. All right, you better narrow that down. Okay, go ahead.
Exactly. Not Pam Bondi either. Look, here's what I know. I did not realize that John Fetterman's wife had been an undocumented immigrant for more than a decade of her life. It just really shows his disconnect. The fact that he could have been such a staunch supporter of ICE and understood sort of her experience. And so, that's something that she should address. What I would say is that ICE has been a problem long before now. These white people have been attacked here, and so that's why we're all talking about it. I'd like to utter the name of Keith Porter, right? He was killed by an off-duty ICE officer who then tried to lie about what he did. We are in a situation now where our members of Congress are going to be held accountable. John Fetterman's going to be held accountable. My goodness, I hope he doesn't run again. But he will be held accountable. Susie in New York will be held accountable, and they should. They absolutely, absolutely should. Just the fact that we didn't even hear the name really of Keith Porter. We heard it here on this show. But if you were not watching Roland or you were not, following any kind of Black media, you basically would have missed that entire story. There's also an interesting notion here about maleness. We had a white man in this nurse, Mr. Preddy, who was actually trying to help a woman, doing the most manly thing you could do. He was observing what was happening. He assisted to provide help. He was a gun-carrying person, but he did not brandish it. He was trying to help someone, and he lost his life for it. And these are people who say that they're about manliness, and yet they had in the case of the earlier victim here, approaching her car, screaming and yelling at her, and most women recoil when you scream and yell at them and you approach them aggressively, which is what she sought to do. She was trying to get out of their way. There's so much here that I think needs to be shared, so many stories that need to be shared. But first and foremost, we have to make sure that there is a pause. Fetterman is wrong about that. Yep. The reason we want to pause the money to ICE to DHS is not because they don't already have money. It's so that they want their funding. And we have to make sure it limits their ability to move and operate when we do that for long term. So it is absolutely important that we separate it out. John Fetterman doesn't want to shut down of the government. What he has to be clear then is ICE can't be funded and can't be a part of that. So we can go forward.
Bottom line here, Scott, if you are a Democrat, again, this is what people don't understand. They freaking, oh my God, we want to hear abolish ICE. No, how about ICE operate the same way they did under Biden and Obama? You have a sense of decency. You follow procedures. What Donald Trump has done is just hire people. And the problem is we don't know who the hell these people are. We don't know if they're actually commissioned law enforcement. We don't know if they're bounty hunters, if they're oath keepers, if they're promise, if they're the Proud Boys. We don't know who the hell these people are. And we can see by their actions that they don't even damn about traditional law enforcement. They're pissing off other law enforcement. Scott, they are pissing off police chiefs in Illinois, in Minnesota, all around the country, because they're like, we don't even have to work with y'all.
Yep, Scott? Absolutely. And but yeah, I'm here. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Hear me?
Delayed. You must got that cricket Wi-Fi.
Hello? No. I got the top line right now.
No, you don't.
In any event, but yeah, I do. I got consultants and everything. But let me just get to my point. They want to work with the state police, and the local police don't have to work with DHS as sanctuary cities and sanctuary state. The federal government and White House thinks that there should be an obligation for them to work with them, and they shouldn't. And they don't want to, quite frankly, based on my research, is because DHS and the Border Patrol and the ICE are so incompetent and undisciplined. They don't even follow their own freaking rules. So I'm not surprised at any of this, quite frankly. This was a disaster in the making once Donald Trump got reelected. And so, we got to live with this. The money piece is key. You don't want to defund DHS. You want to reform DHS. That's what the Democrats' messaging is. You want to reform it. You want to get folks trained up, and you want to train them in de-escalation versus this militaristic approach as if they're going to war with people who are waiting on asylum hearings. It's over the top. It makes no sense whatsoever. They don't have to beat their chest. They don't have to. It's not us against them. They have created this theater or this TV show, as you say, for no reason whatsoever, but to feed the political rhetoric to MAGA. It's backfiring on them now.
Oh, well, check this out. Hold on. Who's reporting this? Give me one second. Oh, so the Atlantic is reporting. Give me 1 second. Let me go to it right here. Again, this is what happened when heads roll. The Atlantic is reporting that Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino is being demoted, and he is going to retire as a result of what has taken place. Let me pull up this article right here. Greg Bovino has been removed from his role as Border Patrol Commander at Large and will return to his former job at El Centro, California, where he is expected to retire soon, according to a DHS official and two people with knowledge of the chain. His sudden demotion is the clearest sign yet the Trump administration is reconsidering its most aggressive tactics after the killing Saturday of 37-year-old Alex Preddy. Wow. Respond to that, Omekongo.
Hey, the people have spoken, and this is a victory for the people. We know what we talked about earlier. Tom Homan coming in is not like we're sending down an angel or anything like that. But this is something that Stephen Miller, who's the policy chief, and Donald Trump and Kristi Noem wanted to do across the country. They wanted to terrorize cities across the country. As Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi said, "Hey, give us the voting rolls," and they wanted to terrorize people so they can start to sabotage the elections. They wanted to make everybody feel scared, and the people kept standing up. And the business community, even though they issued a lukewarm statement over the weekend, finally started speaking up. And so this is a small victory. I feel like Bovino is somebody who still needs to be held up before a court. He needs to face charges for his actions, don't get me wrong. But these small victories are adding up. And this is a result of the people pushing and fighting back. And so this is a win for us and a loss for the Trump administration, a loss among many.
Can I just say this, though? As important as it is, and I saw that Atlantic article pop up too, the most important as this is, Bovino is terrible. I'm glad he's gone, or is reported to be gone. But we have to make sure that he's not replaced with a Bovino light. Someone who is nicer about it, doesn't wear a Nazi uniform when he does it, but is pretty much still doing the same exact thing. Because even before white people were being killed, immigrants, many of them law-abiding, were being rounded up like animals in ways that are inhumane without due process. So I'm glad about this, but we cannot lose the urgency here.
There's no doubt you can't lose the urgency. And the other thing is here, Scott, this won't be the only head to roll. Trust me, folks are going to say, well, Bovino's out, we're good. No, you're going to see more demands for Kristi Noem to go and for others to go, and for there be to a major shift in policy from Trump folks.
I don't know who
Maybe.
that's to.
I hope you're right.
No, that's the Scott.
But if you don't
That's
change the
Scott.
philosophy,
Scott's on like a
you
5-second
don't
delay
cut off
because he
the
got
head.
that bad Wi-Fi. But go ahead, Scott.
Well, but maybe it's your broadcast equipment. Who knows? But
Everybody,
let me just say
everybody
this.
else on time.
That's bullshit, right? Because the
Everybody else on
philosophy,
time.
but everybody, oh God, until you change the White House, until you change Steve Miller, we can be. You can take a short victory lap maybe, but the philosophy and the belief of the White House and Trump and Miller remains the same. So it doesn't matter who they replace unless they replace someone who's got some piece of the human condition or some humanity or looks at immigrant community in some humane way, which the White House doesn't. This means nothing, quite frankly. If you get rid of Noem, okay, it doesn't matter because you're not cutting off the head, and whoever gets their replacement, right? They just don't have the baggage that Noem and Bovino had, including Holman. And so, okay, their heads are rolling. They're scapegoats. That's all they are, really. So let's see who they put in place. But more importantly, does the philosophy change? Does the operation and management of these surges, does that stop? Or is that done in a more humane manner? Because President Barack Obama got rid of about 16 million immigrants, and you never heard a word about it. You had to have it reported to you years later. So that's the professional way to do it. But if they don't change their philosophy, it doesn't matter who's in place. You know, they just don't have the bags of the current groups.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. I got to go to a break. We come back. There was a debate on Saturday between Democratic Texas U.S. Senate candidates, State Rep James Tellerico and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. We'll show you some of that. That's next. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to support that work? You want to contribute via Cash App? Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. Click the Cash App pay button to contribute. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America.
They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory. Attack woke, DEI.
MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
What's up? It's your girl, Tamika D. Mallory, and you are watching the Black Star Network.
All right, folks. It is time. Folks, it's time for headlines with Brittany Noble.
Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton's campaign filed a termination report with the Federal Election Commission on Sunday. Norton has easily won a re-election to represent Washington, D.C. every 2 years since 1990, serving as the city's non-voting delegate in the U.S. House. Well, campaign records show she raised just $7.50 between January 1st and January 25th. As of January 25th, the campaign reported no cash on hand and is $90,000 in debt to Norton, including a $40,000 personal loan that she made to her re-election committee in June. A group of fringe researchers bypassed safeguards to the National Institutes of Health to access data from thousands of children. They ranked ethnicities by IQ scores and used it to publish at least 16 papers, prompting discredited claims about racial differences in intelligence, including the idea that Black people earn less because they are less intelligent. The researchers were not eligible to access the data, but one gained entry through a U.S. professor already under NIH investigation. Some of the papers have since been cited by AI tools, including ChatGPT. Well, President Trump is warning Canada that he will impose a 100% tariff if the country goes through with a trade deal with China. He made the threat on his social media saying if Canada makes a deal with China, it will immediately be hit with a 100% tariff against all Canadian goods and products coming into the USA. In his post, Trump does not make clear the deal he's referring to between China and Canada. The Canadian Prime Minister issued a statement this weekend saying there's no pursuit of a free trade agreement with China and highlighted its partnership with the U.S. Well, the Kentucky Supreme Court Justice representing Fayette County is responding to an impeachment petition filed against her. Justice Pamela Goodwine says she is aware of the petition and rejects what she calls baseless allegations. The statement says she will respond if asked by a House committee, but maintains the petition has no merit and should be dismissed. The petition was filed by Louisville attorney Jack Richardson, who claims Goodwine should have recused herself from a case. That case involved a 2022 law limiting the power of Jefferson County School Board. Richardson argues that Goodwine has a conflict of interest because she was endorsed by the governor who vetoed the law, a veto later overridden by the GOP supermajority. And Goodwine was elected to the state Supreme Court last November. Well, President Trump says that the DOJ and Congress are looking at Minnesota Democrat Representative Ilhan Omar. Omar has long been in Trump's crosshairs. He went on to say the DOJ and Congress are looking at Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who left Somalia with nothing and is now reportedly worth more than $44 million. Well, Trump did not provide further details on the alleged investigation, but for weeks he has attacked Omar, the first Somali American elected to Congress. Trump has been criticized over his handling of immigration enforcement in the Minneapolis area. He and his allies have drawn renewed attention to fraud allegations involving Somali-run daycares. The president says that his administration is investigating massive fraud in the state. Roland.
All right, then. We appreciate that. Folks, we've been telling you about what's been happening in Memphis. There's been a lot of focus in targeting of the Elon Musk, his XAI, and the turbines there, and the impact it is having on residents, Black residents there in Memphis. You've had city leaders and others who have allowed them to operate with impunity, not really holding them accountable. But now the EPA has issued a ruling. State Representative Justin Pearson joins us right now. Glad to have you back on the show. So take us through what action has the EPA, what have they actually said about these turbines?
Yeah, the EPA affirmed what our community has said from the beginning, that Elon Musk and XAI were illegally operating gas turbines without a permit. They built a power plant and didn't go to the health department or any other agency asking for a permit to do so, and they polluted the air of our community more than the international airport. We're talking about thousands of tons of nitrogen oxides, 17.2 tons of formaldehyde sprayed into the air of this community, and there was no way for us to stop them because the mayor of our city and our county supported this. The health department supported this, and the Chamber of Commerce, the Memphis Chamber of Commerce, led by Ted Townsend and Bobby White, were all supportive. And so it's very strange that Trump's EPA was the one to actually say the people in Boxtown, the people in Westwood, the people in my district, in District 86 were actually on the right side of this. And Elon Musk and a lot of the Democratic institutions, lowercase d, that were supposed to protect our community, that were supposed to prevent this from happening, failed us.
All right, so what next? I mean, that is huge that Trump's EPA, I mean, listen, they kissed the ass of companies left and right that they would actually issue this kind of ruling.
Yeah, I mean, it affirms what the Clean Air Act has been saying the whole time. And what we were telling people was, look, they're asking whether or not there is an exemption. And if they're asking about it, that means currently there isn't one. And so anything that this company was saying about how they needed to have an exemption or have a year to be able to pollute as much as they want was completely false and was completely wrong. And so it affirms that the Clean Air Act is still the federal law of the land and it needs to be followed. And the reality is we're actually in a fight now because they took these same gas turbines, moved them to South Haven, which is just across the border, and they're now illegally operating them in South Haven. But as you know, when it comes to environmental justice, the communities that are most impacted are Black communities, Latino communities, poor communities, even poor white communities. And South Haven, Mississippi is the only county in the entire state that has an F in air quality. And so this is perpetuating harm that already existed before XAI. And we have a hearing on February 17th, which we're sending a lot of people to speak up about this because the air don't care if it's in Mississippi or if it's in Memphis. We share the air and the consequences are going to fall disproportionately on people who have COPD, disproportionately have asthma, disproportionately already have lung ailments, which is historically communities that have been polluted like our district right here in Memphis, especially in Southwest Memphis. And so it's going to be an organizing tool for us, but it's also for communities across the country that are fighting these data centers. They can't illegally pollute our neighborhoods. They have to go through permit processes, which allow for us to be able to have a say about what they are doing. These billionaire games can't continue to destroy our communities on the backs of poor folk.
So has the city responded? Has the county responded to this EPA ruling, affirming what you and others have been saying?
They are as quiet as they have ever been. I mean, the mayor, he put out a op-ed calling our community liars. Now he has nothing to say. The other mayor went in front of the TV, said he had no concerns. Now he has nothing to say. The Shelby County Health Department won't even apologize to the community for allowing this illegal polluting to happen. The company itself, XAI, which had op-eds and sent all these mailers calling our communities liars and sending out this propaganda from the Chamber of Commerce. None of them have said anything about the affirmation of what our community knew to be right the entire time. And so folks at Memphis Community Against Pollution, Young, Gifted, and Green, Southern Environmental Law Center, NAACP, while we are celebrating the truth, it is really painful to see those who were against the community being completely and utterly silent after attacking us for over a year about our stance on this.
This is a CNBC article. It said the EPA's updated rule clarifies that those kinds of turbines can't be designated as non-road engines, and companies must also obtain Clean Air Act permits before installing them, particularly if their aggregate emissions will go above major source thresholds of pollutions. And it says right here, the Shelby County Health Department in Memphis previously allowed XAI to designate its turbines as non-road engines and to start using them without any public comment and environmental impact review, as would have been required in a standard permitting process. The whole point of the city and the county is to protect the residents. These are the people. So I would hope, first of all, you got some elections coming up there. I would hope this is going to be an issue at the ballot box for the folk who don't give a damn about the air quality of the residents.
Absolutely. And we got these elections coming up here in May, on May 5th. And before that, for early voting for a new county mayor, for folks on the county commission. And next year, we're going to have city council elections and a new city mayor election, because we have a responsibility as elected officials to protect our citizens, to protect our communities. That's the job. You swear your hand on a Bible or the Quran or whatever it is, and you swear an oath to protect our communities. And instead, a billionaire and $1 billion corporation was protected more than people who have a cancer risk that's 4 times the national average, people who are dealing with 18 toxic release inventory facilities surrounding our community already, who have historically been marginalized and historically been mistreated. And the people in power perpetuated the harm. And it took this EPA to say, you know what, they were right the entire time. And now those same folks who push this narrative, same folks who push this propaganda, who have all these fancy titles, they're now silent. And so they're going to perpetuate this harm, pretending like our community wasn't right. This isn't how it's supposed to be, which is why we have to get new people in power who are going to hold them accountable. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
All right, State Rep Justin Pearson, we sure appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate you too.
Thank you very much, folks. On Saturday, the Texas AFL-CIO held a debate between Texas State Rep James Tallarico and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Both of them are running for the Democratic nomination for the United States Senate in Texas. The primary is going to taking place on March 3rd. Here are some of what they had to say on Saturday.
Ms. Crockett, you have said you would absolutely at least support an impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump if he engaged in misconduct. Under what specific circumstances, if any, would you support impeachment or an impeachment inquiry, and where do you draw the line? You have 60 seconds.
So I want to be clear about this. The statement he just made was from a while ago, before things got as bad as they are right now. I think that there is more than enough to impeach Donald Trump, period, on the face of it. In fact, Al Green has put on the floor more than once impeachment resolutions, and I have voted for them. Now, ultimately, do I think that we should go through the formal process so that we can do all of the data collection that we need to do so that we can have all of the evidence? Absolutely, because basically it is a prosecution. And so we need to make sure that people are actually honoring those subpoenas. We need to get all of the information. And so I think that we should start at an impeachment inquiry. We should go and get all of the information. We should allow the American people to hear and see that information, call their representatives, urge them to make the votes. And then ultimately, if we feel like there is enough evidence that has been presented in committee, which it most likely would be judiciary where I currently serve, then we take that vote. We take it to the entire House floor. Now, there are those that say there is no point because we impeached him twice and then he ultimately did not get convicted. Is that where you're going?
Ms. Crockett, but name one thing specifically that he should be impeached for.
I think that he should be impeached as it relates to his unlawful use of the tariffs. That's a very easy one. He doesn't have the legal authority to do it. He, everything else as it relates to his legal authority, I think the courts have stopped him, whether we're talking about birthright citizenship and some others, but the courts have not yet weighed in specifically on the impeachments. The tariffs.
All right. Mr. Tallarico, while you have been critical of Donald Trump, you have not publicly called for impeachment. If elected to the Senate, under what specific circumstances, if any, would you support impeachment or an impeachment inquiry, and where do you draw the line? You have 60 seconds.
I think the administration has certainly committed impeachable offenses, particularly when it comes to using their public roles to enrich themselves. I will conduct myself in any impeachment proceedings in the United States Senate just as I did in the Texas legislature when impeachment charges were brought against our corrupt Attorney General. I evaluated all the evidence. I said it was the most serious vote I ever casted because I was removing a duly elected public official from office. The person who I voted to impeach is now running for this Senate seat on the other side of the aisle. And it should underscore the importance of stopping a Senator Ken Paxton, maybe the most corrupt politician in America, and that's saying something. So to answer your question, Gromer, people can look at how I conducted myself in those impeachment proceedings. I will pore through the evidence. I will treat it with the utmost seriousness, and I will vote my conscience, and I will do my duty.
And I believe I heard you say something about enriching himself financially, but be specific. What's one thing you would vote to impeach?
Gromer, I'm not going to articulate articles of impeachment here at a political debate, but if those charges are brought in the U.S. House and they come before the U.S. Senate, I will carefully evaluate them, I will weigh the evidence, and I will do my duty as a U.S. Senator.
All right, so let's go to our panel here. This is going to be an interesting race to watch. And the thing that just jumps out to me at the most here, it sort of just trips me out, Joy, is when I look at these progressives who are acting a fool and understand Tallarico has a right to run, Crockett has a right to run, others have dropped out. And guess what? You let them run. They didn't attack each other in the debate. Let it be about policy. Who has the best ground game? Who gets their voters out? That's what happens. And if your candidate doesn't win on March 3rd, you know what you do? You consolidate. You get behind the winner, and you say, let's take down who's going to be the Republican running, whether it's incumbent John Cornyn, Congressman Wesley Hunt, or it's the corrupt Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. To me, this ain't hard.
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, this is what democracy looks like. I would never want to go up against Jasmine Crockett. So, God bless him and good luck to him. But we know those aren't the only factors that'll be out there. And he very well might have, a good chance. I haven't studied the race closely. But that they run against each other is fine. As long as they don't attack each other, do no harm, because there is going to be a general election, a very tough one. My hope is that they will keep it clean and then move on. But he needs to improve his answers, because I can tell you what, Cornyn, Paxton, whomever he ultimately is going up against in the Republican primary, it's going to bring more energy than that. So he needs to get some help. I almost think we need a Jasmine Crockett who can match the energy that is going to be coming from the Republican side, because they understand the importance of a Senate seat from Texas. And so they're going to bring out all the guns. Don't believe them when they say, no, don't like these people that are running. John Cornyn is not that bad. Even Jasmine Crockett has said it. So she's going to have to bring energy that's about what we want our whole nation to look like and what is the future of Texas.
Right.
I don't know if that guy's doing it.
But here's the whole deal here on the Congo, and it's going to be a tough sled. And really what both candidates have to do, Tallarico has less name recognition than Crockett. But listen, they have got to have a strong ground game. The only way that any Democrat has a shot in Texas is if they are not only are mobilizing and organizing in the large counties, Dallas County, Harris County, Bexar County, Travis County, you've got Tarrant County, but they have got to mobilize voters in East Texas, in West Texas, in South Texas. Where Democrats have gotten killed in Texas in statewide races is that they could do well in big counties and get destroyed in the rest of the state.
Well, I've been listening to you talk about Texas for years. And another thing you've also mentioned often is that the youth vote in Texas has also been abysmal over the years as well. And so you're absolutely right about the ground game. We're some of us, we're not from Texas. We're here in Maryland and DC and New York and other places. And so, yeah, we know these individuals as national figures because Jasmine Crockett being in the Senate, Tallarico because of the YouTube videos and being on Joe Rogan and the like. But what we've learned from this last election with Trump and some of these, and them taking the House and the Senate is that everything has to be local. Everything has to be local. And yeah, you can get the donations and you can raise millions of dollars. But if you don't have that ground game, if you don't have a solid opportunity to be able to really get out there and speak to the people, look, we shouldn't even really be hearing much about them on a national level. Of course, the Jasmine Crockett, in terms of her position, we see why we would hear more from her. But, James Tallarico being more local. But if they don't stick to the ground game, it's over. And there are so many things right now in Texas, across the country, it's bigger than one individual. And so the fact that they're coming out there from the beginning, being respectful before the debate, like from the way beginning, being respectful, being cordial. We know that whoever loses, the other is going to endorse the winner. That's what we need right now as it relates to the Democrats moving forward. And like you said, there's a lot of people outside in the progressive, quote unquote, progressive movement yapping away about this and that. But they need to focus on Texas. You mentioned in a couple of shows ago that what people are talking about on the national level, folks are going to be voting on that about that in Texas. Even some of these international debates about like Israel and Palestine and the like, folks in Texas ain't focusing on that. And so if they keep that focus on Texas, I believe that they have a solid chance on taking it based on what you've been educating on us about Texas for years now.
Listen, this is the reality, Scott. Tallarico can't survive alone based upon his popular TikTok clips. Jasmine Crockett can't win alone by her national media appearances. Again, I'm going to say this, both candidates have got to have a massive ground game, massive volunteers, turning people out, speak to the local issues. And so for all of these dumb progressives who don't know shit about Texas, who are like, oh my God, Crockett is going to cost us a chance in the state. I'm like, Listen, a Democrat ain't been elected statewide in Texas. Not this race. Any statewide race in Texas. 1988. And part of that is because they have not captured the attention, fired people up. They're going to have to do that. And so both of them have got to be putting strong campaign teams together that are putting a campaign infrastructure. You can have a great candidate. That don't mean jack if you don't have a campaign infrastructure. And both of them have lots of work to do before the March 3rd primary.
Yeah, 2 points I want to share. The reason we're talking about this race is because it's a dichotomy of the struggle within the Democratic Party. Terrico is kind of moderate and to the center and wants to be right and just on everything and maybe take the fight directly to Trump. Jasmine Crockett, who may be far left or maybe not far left, she just wants to take the fight directly to Trump. And that's the microcosm of the debate on direction for the Democrats leading up to this year as well as 2028. And then lastly, I'd say it differently in regard to organization and boots on the ground is it takes a lot of money to register Black and brown voters. There are a lot of Black and brown voters who are unregistered who would vote Democrat. There are more Black and brown voters than white conservative voters, but yet we haven't had a win since 1988. So it's going to take a lot of money, whoever wins this, to register Black and brown voters, get them to the poll, and it's an expensive proposition. So both of them need to have the money. Whoever wins needs to have the money to do it, and they ought to start registering Black and brown voters right now, quite frankly, because you're going to need them in the primary. You're going to need them in the general no matter what. To me, that's the difference maker. Who's going to register those Black and brown voters and get them to the polls to outvote the Republicans? Historically, it has never happened, or it hadn't happened since 1988.
Of course. And then, of course, the primary, the early voting in that primary begins in a couple of weeks. Let me thank Scott, Joy, and Omekongo for being on today's show. Appreciate it, folks. Thanks a lot. On Saturday, we live streamed here on the Black Star Network two funerals of iconic figures. One of them, gospel icon Richard Smallwood. The other was civil rights hero Claudette Colvin. Thousands of fans gathered to bid farewell to Smallwood at a music-filled funeral on Saturday. Family and friends remembered him for his creativity, theology, and humility. Smallwood's black closed casket covered with white flowers was placed at the front of the sanctuary at First Baptist Church of Glenarden. The 2.5-hour service featured many of the songs he had written, highlighting his profound impact on gospel music. Actress Felicia Rashad, a former classmate of his at Howard University, shared memories of Smallwood introducing the gospel choir he co-founded. She also recounted how one of his songs helped her through a challenging time. Speaking of singing, Maryland Governor Wes Moore showed his chops in honoring the gospel great. Here's some of that funeral.
Well-deserved rest, his contribution is still with us. That in our times of deep troubling, we know who we can lean on. We know who we can rely on because he said it. That in sadness, you're my laughter. That shelters all my fears when I'm alone. Your hand is there to hold. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my salvation, hope for all that's true. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. God bless you, Richard. Rest in well-deserved peace. To the Smallwood family, we love you. And I love you back. To the entire family, on behalf of 6.5 million people who call this state home, who all stand in unison to say to our brother, job well done. I want to share with you this, be it known, that on behalf of the citizens of this state, in recognition of the inspirational creativity, the profound impact, and shining legacy of gospel music composer, choral director, and ordained minister, Richard Smallwood, in honor of your service and internationally renowned body of work that formed connections to God for generations, to recognize the power of music and in the spirit to heal and advance change. We are pleased to confer upon you this governor's citation, signed by the Secretary of State, Susan Lee, the Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller, and the 63rd Governor of the state of Maryland, Wes Moore. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.
After graduation, I didn't see or hear much of him. You know, I went off to New York and started a career in the theater and all those ups and downs. And one day, at a point that was a little bit low, a friend of mine presented me with a tape, and she said, now you got to listen to this song right here. This is the one song. All of them are good, but this one you got to listen to. And it was I Love the Lord. Whew. And it was Richard Smallwood. She didn't tell me that part. That song saw me through. And you know through your own experience, and nothing refutes the truth of your own experience, that love of the Lord will bring you through each and every time. Years passed, Richard wrote a book. Are you familiar with it? Someone said to me the other day, well, maybe at some point there'll be a film that'll be made about this book. I said, yeah, okay. Maybe so. But my hope is that people would read it. Because in reading it, you hear his voice. You hear him speak to his own life experience, the challenges he faced, who would have known, and how he always came through. Because Sir Richard's life and his life's work are affirmation of the power of remembrance, worship, and praise. I am so thankful. I am so thankful. I am so thankful.
Folks, Smallwood was an 8-time Grammy Award nominee. Passed away on December 30th at the age of 77 due to complications from kidney failure in Sandy Spring, Maryland. In Birmingham, Alabama, hundreds gathered to bid farewell to Claudette Colvin. She was recognized as a pivotal yet often unsung hero of the civil rights movement. She passed away on January 13th at the age of 86. During her funeral on Saturday, she was remembered not only for her courageous stand against Montgomery's segregation laws in the mid-1950s when she was just a teenager, but also as a hero in life. For her son, Colvin's heroism holds much deeper meaning.
For coming out to celebrate my mom, whom the Lord shared with us for 86 years. So I'm very thankful. But this also reminds me of when we moved her down from the Bronx, and we had a celebration, and we had a number of people that came out to visit and came out to share also. And I spoke for about 15 minutes then, and I had several pages of notes. But this time they were saying it's 2 minutes, but you said a little bit longer. But what I did, I was sharing, I was spending time with my mom, and I said, do you think it would be all right if I still write down some notes, even though I'm only doing 2 minutes? And she shook her head and she smiled and said, yes. And so I said, that's okay, I'll go ahead and do it then. But that kind of reminds me, from a child until now, my mom and I always had a lot of conversations. We always talked. We talked a lot. When she was in New York and when I would be traveling, I was in college, sometimes we would talk for hours, so many hours, so long, sometimes I would fall asleep. And then I would wake up and I'd call the next day and I said, I'm sorry, I fell asleep, Mom. And we'd chuckle about it and laugh. But as people were saying, my mom was a good storyteller. She had a lot of history. And one thing she did, she instilled in me when she would talk, how to see the presence of the Lord in certain situations. That was what she would do. We would talk about the world, we would talk about communities, people, and families. But then after we would talk, then we would settle back, we would share, and we would reflect, and we were saying, what do you think? How do you think the Lord was trying to move in this case, in this situation? What do you think the Lord was trying to do? And we would also use the word. And one thing we would always often go back to is Romans 8:28. As we know that all things work together for the good to them that are called according to his purpose. And so those who love the Lord. And so that's what we were doing. And we went on from there to continue to talk. But on a personal note, this is what I always get asked. I always get asked by people, what was it like personally? How was it like being a son of Claudette Colvin? But I would say, after we talked about the world and things like that, she would talk about grace. And when I say grace, you might have heard her speak of her grandchildren. She would always talk about her grandchildren and her grands. She just loved them. She loved them. And you can also see that if you want to know what I'm talking about, just take a look at the grandchildren tribute in the program and you'll see what I'm saying. But this is the point and why she would do this. My mom felt, for those of y'all who know her story, my mom felt that the Lord actually saw her, saw some of the decisions she made, and decided to grant her grace and bless her with a long lineage of wonderful grandchildren and great-grands. So that was one reason she would do that. Again, she was looking for the Lord in that situation. In spite of everything that went on, she saw grace. And then, so I'm going to talk about the children because from then, they also will maintain respect and concern for other people. From there, they would do that. They went to top programs. I'm going to talk about them now. They went to top programs. They have advanced degrees in medicine, nursing, international affairs, and social work. They have one who served in the Air Force in radar and aerospace systems. They help keep us safe. They actually help keep the world safe using aerospace systems. We also have a grandson who is in the Navy Reserves in electrician construction. And we also have one who served in the Army and received injuries while serving in the Middle East. So her grandchildren, to her, she felt blessed. And she felt that the Lord extended her grace based on what they were doing, how they used the talents and gifts that God blessed them with, and also how they sought to serve this country, like in the military, even in law enforcement. So she was very proud. But then I would say, when we wanted to take it easy, what would we do? And my wife would probably understand this, some of you all. I would sometimes go through the drive-through and just order 2 senior cups of coffee. And then we would actually just get the coffee, we'd drive, and I'd just pull over to the side and we'll park. And then we'd just kind of like chill out and talk and reflect and just kind of look around and just relax. That's what we would do. And we also would talk about the same kind of shows and movies. For those of you who know what I like, she likes to say, I was wondering why I like certain movies and certain types of movies, and she likes the same type. So I know why now, because we would talk about that. And the children, you all know what I'm talking about, the types of movies. But now I'm going to bring it all the way to the end, because my mom, and I'm saying with the grandchildren, she felt very blessed. And as she was transitioning, she got to speak with all the grandchildren. She got to close out, and she was with a lot of joy. And she just felt extremely blessed, because when she was winding down, she was still, we were able to set up the FaceTiming calls. And she got to thank them and share and just tell them how much she loved them. how proud she was of them, and so the grandkids and so forth. And that's how she was winding down. And so she was in a good mood. She told one, she said she's ready to see the pearly gates and say hello to the Lord. So she was at peace. But on that Tuesday morning, early, shortly after 5, I got the call from the chaplain. And after embracing the finality of things, I thought about it, and then I began to again look for the presence of the Lord, let's say, in all of this. And then as I was going through that period of reflecting on the finality of my mom passing, I actually felt, I was overjoyed. And I felt like I was the most blessed young man, blessed son, blessed child in the world. And then I just began to thank the Lord. And I thank God for blessing me with such a wonderful and caring mother. And I just spent the rest of that time just praising God and thanking him, because I just felt so blessed for having my wonderful mom. So with that, that's my testimony.
Folks, again, these are our heroes, and we certainly were happy to stream the homegoing services for both. Just go to our YouTube channel on the Black Star Network app to actually check it out. Folks, Brittany Noble did our headlines as she's launched her daily show. That's right, every day at noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. You can check out the breakdown with Brittany Noble, covering the news and stores. And so today was the first day, and so y'all be sure to check it out every single day, noon Eastern. So when you're on your lunch break, you can also check it out. Thursday, we launch a weekly health show. That's right. Second Opinion with Dr. Ebony Hilton. We look forward to that as well. That's being brought to you by Procter & Gamble. And so great conversation, all sort of different topics with the issue of health. And so we're glad to have Dr. Ebony Hilton with us for a weekly show right here on the Black Star Network. Again, that's going to air on Thursdays. It'll stream at 11 a.m. and then we'll also repeat it at the end of the show, my show, at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right, folks, that's it for us. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to support that work, listen, all this stuff costs money. And so we're trying to bring you the best news and information, doing something that nobody else is doing here in Black America. So if you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Click the Cash App Pay button to contribute. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Of course, download Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get our swag, get our Shop Black Star Network, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Roland Martin Unfiltered, Black Star Network swag, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com to check out our swag, our t-shirts, our hoodies, all of our different paraphernalia. You want to get it. If you want to support our Black-owned products that we have on there, go to Shop Black Star Network as well. You can see all of those products right there on the website. Check it out. And don't forget, folks, download the app Fan Base, and you can support that as well. We're trying to get hit 5 million subscribers. I'm on there. You can follow me at Roland S. Martin. And so check us out there. Folks, that's it. I hope y'all stayed safe. All of y'all been impacted by the ice and snow. I'll be back in the studio hopefully tomorrow, and because didn't want to get out there and have me and my staff, chancing it with the bad conditions. And so we all are working remotely today. And so it's really appreciated. Thanks a bunch. Folks, I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.